Crime, Wine, and Chaos contains adult language and graphic content. Listener discretion is advised.
You're the wind beneath our wings, Chaos Kids. I'm Naomi.
I'm Amber, and this is Crime, Wine, and Chaos. Amazing. You know, hey, did I ever tell you you're my hero?
Everything I wish I could be. Hi, sister.
Amazing. Hi, sister. Hello.
Hello.
Oh, man. Happy Friday to you.
Oh, yeah. This is well-earned. This is a well-earned Friday for sure.
Same.
What's going on? How are you?
Fuck, it was just a week from hell. Just one thing after another.
Double hockey sticks?
Double hockey sticks. Yeah. I am so glad we're done with that.
That's behind us now. Rear view mirror. I'll tell you, I'm having one of those weeks where I keep telling myself this lesson I've learned in recovery, which is you're probably doing better than you feel, you know? And then the reminder of like, there's always something to be grateful for. And if I can stay grateful, then at the very least, I won't get loaded, you know? So
yeah. Those are words of wisdom. You are always doing better than you think you are. That's true.
That's true. Well, better than you feel for sure.
Or
feelings aren't facts, you know, feelings will change. Just give it a minute. Anything new going on?
Let me think. Well, no, we're having a party this weekend.
We are. Hey, I have a rockin' 80s playlist ready to roll.
I love all of that.
I did have like, you know, at least half that playlist ready when you asked me for it. So
I know you texted like half hour later that the playlist was done. I was like, that already existed. Mm-hmm.
Well, not completely, but it was just a matter of putting it together.
I love it.
Just
I love it
together. Yeah, we're gonna have a party. That's gonna be fun.
That is.
What are you drinking?
Thank you for asking. I'm drinking an Ammeni Rose from Argentina tonight.
Lovely.
Thank you.
Pinky up.
Pinky up.
Yeah. Should we get into it? Should we get into this jamma?
Yeah, I've got a bummer of a crime that sounds like it would have been something that you would have chosen. So
Yeah. Curiosity is piqued. I am ready.
All right. Do you want to go to Bismarck, North Dakota?
Never. I never want to go to North Dakota. I saw someone, was it? Like I saw a comedian or something talking about, Justin and I went to that comedy show. We saw Steve Hofstetter, who's hilarious. And he was talking about how he was doing this tour and he lives in Pittsburgh. And so he wanted to come to the Pacific Northwest. And so they pulled out a map. And when they looked at the map, because they're going to drive, they were like, oh, fuck. Because that meant they had to drive through, you know, a lot of shitty states. And he was talking about like a stopover or making a stop somewhere in North Dakota, I believe. And he was like, you know, North and South Dakota, it's so crazy because like the North Dakotans and the South Dakotans, they like hate each other. They have this rivalry. They're like, what? Yeah. And he was like, but for everybody else, we're like, you're the same. Like, there's no difference. It's North and South. It's all Dakota.
It's Dakota.
So yeah.
That's so funny.
Right. So that was like the good time laugh we got out before you got into this bummer's crime. Okay, so Bismarck. No, I do not want to go to Bismarck, but I will go there in my mind with you now.
All right.
Okay.
So it's Friday, September 18th, 1996.
That's the year I graduated high school.
Oh, good year. Good year. Mm-hmm. So Amy Werner goes into the police station in Bismarck and reported that she was worried that her boyfriend, Brian Erickstad, may have hurt his parents.
Okay.
So she provides them with the Erikstad's phone number. And when the police call, they're unable to reach anybody. Brian Erickstad was someone who had many previous run-ins with the law. In fact, just 3 weeks prior, he was arrested on drug charges and his dad had posted his bond. So he was like currently out on bond.
Okay.
His parents are Barbara and Gordon Erickstad. Barbara worked for Dan's Supermarket and Gordon worked for North Dakota National Guard as an aircraft mechanic. And police also learned that neither of their employers heard from them that day. So they go to the home to do a welfare check.
Sure.
Yeah. While Amy is being interviewed, she says that just 2 days prior, her boyfriend moved in with her into her parents' house on the corner of East and Sweet. This sounds like such a nice place, but it's not.
Is that Sweet SWEET or Sweet SUITE?
Sweet as in the candy, EET.
Okay.
So
Stay sweet.
Stay sweet. Yeah. So at this house, there's Amy, her mom's boyfriend, her brother, 2 sisters, and her sister's boyfriend, 27-year-old Robert Lawrence.
And then her boyfriend, the who she just went to the police about, had just moved in as well.
Yes. Uh-huh.
So we're starting a commune at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
She said that she saw Brian and Robert, her sister's boyfriend, driving around in Brian's parents' pickup truck. And Brian had even asked her mom's boyfriend how much jail time he would get for murder.
Okay.
Fucking dumbass. So the police go to the Erikstad residence and they look into the garage windows and there's no vehicles in the garage. So 2 officers go around back where they find blood on the back porch.
On the back porch?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. When they go inside, the living room looks like it's been ransacked and there's a very large pool of blood in the hall. In the kitchen, in the sink, there are 3 knives covered with blood and one of them has a broken blade.
Oh, no.
Yeah. One bedroom looks completely untouched while the other one is in like full on shambles. The mattress has been turned over. There's shit thrown everywhere. And based on the amount of blood in the home, the officers don't believe that there could be any survivors to this attack, but they don't find any bodies.
It sounds like a fucking scene. Just a violent fucking scene.
Yeah, very. Yeah. So right away, the police want to talk to Brian and Robert. In fact, most of the time when a crime is committed in the area, it is someone living or affiliated with the Werner house. So this house.
The commune house.
Uh-huh.
They're these people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's basically a free-for-all with no adult supervision. Mom and boyfriend are known drug users who live upstairs while the teens and young adults stay downstairs and they have their own entrance. And so just anybody and everybody just comes and goes as they please.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oof. I can already see this house. Like I can see it in my mind's eye. Mm-hmm. There is not a piece of furniture that I am sitting on in that house.
Ugh, no. And just like people sleeping on the floor and just,
oh God.
Ashtrays.
And there's probably animals, right? There's also animals, I bet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So they go to the Werner house to start asking questions. And the first person they come in contact with is Amy's brother, Ryan. Ryan takes them downstairs and points to a plastic grocery bag. And inside, they find bloody clothing. And so this is when Ryan and his mom head on down to the police station to answer some questions.
Yeah.
God.
What? On the one hand, you got to be grateful for unsavvy murderers. You know what I mean?
They're so
But on the other hand, it's like, what a fucking idiot. This kid. Okay.
Yeah. So Ryan says that 2 days prior, Brian and Robert woke him up around 5 a.m. and they took him outside and showed him the pickup truck that they were driving. And he says that Robert told him that they had killed Brian's parents and took their truck and that their bodies were in the back. And he asked Ryan to go with them to dispose of the bodies.
Okay. Once again, kids, crime alone.
I know.
Alone.
Teenagers, man. Freaky fucking teenagers. Yeah. So Ryan says that he told them that he couldn't go with them to dispose of the bodies because he had school. And he went inside and went back to bed.
Legit. That's legit. Okay.
Like, oh, I would, but I soups would, but I've got school.
Yeah.
So the police don't believe what Ryan is telling them. And so they start pressing him further. Mm-hmm. And Ryan admits that he had gone to the Erikstad's home that night. and that he was driven there by a friend named Misty.
Okay, so we got another person in the mix. Okay, let's just invite the whole neighborhood to the crime scene.
Yep. This is the first time they've heard the name Misty, and they ask Ryan how many people know about this murder, and he's like rattling off names, and he says he's not sure, but probably around 12.
Oh my God.
Like, what the fuck?
This is like Renee Conrad. This is like, yeah.
Fucking kids, man. So Misty is brought in. And they learned that Misty had been in the house and that she saw the bodies of Barbara and Gordon, and she assisted in disposing of the bodies.
What the fuck?
She tells the police that the bodies were left 50 miles south in a field by a row of trees.
What you do is you just drive south on the highway for 50 miles.
Remember the helicopter drive for 15 minutes? I will not provide you with miles or a location.
No, there'll be a stand of trees on the right, poplars, I believe.
Oh my God. Seriously.
Jesus.
Well, investigators head that way, and they are able to locate the bodies of Barbara and Gordon Erickstad. Gordon was on his back, and Barbara had her head on his stomach with her legs tucked under her. And they had both been stabbed to death.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. So Misty says that the three arrived at the Erikstad residence that night, and she drove her, Brian, and Robert, and they went in through the garage. Brian and Robert have a brief discussion of how everything was going to go down, and Misty stayed behind in the garage. But after a few minutes, she went inside, and she said that she saw both Gordon and Barbara had been stabbed. Barbara was still alive at the time, and Misty told her she was sorry for what was happening to her.
Oh, no.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. So fucking chilling.
Oh, my God.
So, I can't. Oh. So they wrapped both of the bodies in blankets and put them in the back of the pickup truck. Brian and Robert had gotten a ride from Misty, so they left in the pickup truck, and Misty left in her own car and headed back to the Werner house. And she said that when she got back to the Werner house, she picked up Ryan, Amy's brother, and brought him back to the Erikstad house to show him what had happened.
Oh, for God's sake. Are you kidding me?
Mm-mm. Yeah.
Now it's a fucking tourist attraction.
Yep.
Jesus Christ.
By the time Misty and Ryan get back to the Werner house, that's when Brian and Robert showed up and asked Ryan to go with them to dispose of the body. And Ryan does tell them no, so Misty ends up going to help.
Misty's always down. She's a cool girl, you know?
This isn't cool.
No, she's a cool girl, Amber. She does whatever the boys want to do because she's cool. She's cool with it. It's all good. She's fun. She's cool. She's easy breezy. Sure, I'll help you.
Yeah. So she, in this documentary that I was watching, she was one of the only ones involved that was interviewed. And it sounded, well, one, she had like horrible drug addiction, which is why she was sort of living on the street / living in the Werner house. And she was dating this guy, Kyle, who was one of the 12. And Kyle was supposed to go with them that night to murder the Erikstads, and he decided not to go, and he sent Misty in as tribute.
Oh, for God's sake.
Yeah. So 5 days after the murders, Brian and Robert are picked up in Texas in the pickup truck and brought back to North Dakota.
Oh, they ran in that truck.
Yeah.
Okay.
They give no reason as to why they killed Brian's parents. To this day, they have given no reason.
What?
Misty said when she was interviewed, like recently in the last few years, that that she did go and visit Brian in prison and that he told her why, but that it's not her story to tell.
What?
Nobody knows why. So Brian and Robert were tried and both found guilty of murder. Misty was not charged with anything.
Nothing?
Nothing.
What is going on in Bismarck?
I don't know. She stayed with that Kyle guy for like many years afterwards and, you know, was in and out of prison for drug charges and whatnot. And she's been clean for a while and now she works for like a treatment agency. But yeah, no explanation.
And did they get, what was it, life in prison?
Life in prison, yeah.
Both of them?
Both of them.
And like all of these people were like under 22 or something, right?
Except for Robert, the sister's boyfriend. He was 27. Why though?
And this just whole group of people who knew, participated.
Mm-hmm. At one point too, like it was after Brian and Robert had been arrested, but the house was still taped off as a crime scene. And the mom of the shit house and the boyfriend and like a couple other people like broke in and were like looting the house.
What?
The murder house. Yes.
Looting for goods.
Yeah.
For home goods.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't fucking know. They were charged with breaking and entering, but like, what the fuck? I don't know.
This is all just so bizarre.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand any of it. Fucking drugs, man.
Fucking drugs. Mm-hmm. That's it. That's my whole fucking story.
Because, like, here's the thing.
And there isn't
and here's the thing. There isn't actually a reason beyond self-defense to kill anybody.
Well, I don't think it would be a good reason, but just to not provide one at all.
Well, that's the weirdest part. Did they both just plead guilty?
No.
They went to trial and everything?
They went to trial, yeah. And it looks like they didn't financially gain other than a pickup truck. They weren't alleging abuse. They weren't like nothing. I have no idea. So they
pled not guilty with no excuse?
Mm-hmm.
No excuse or explanation at all. Just, nope, didn't do that. Nope, we didn't do it.
Yeah.
When like 10 other people can attest to the fact that they did.
It feels like people that just, it's just parents though, like just wanted to know what it felt like to kill somebody. I don't know.
Or they got mad because it sounds like he moved in with her. Like maybe they kicked him out because for whatever reason, they kicked him out of the house. And so he was just mad at them. So like, fuck them and murder them. Cause like,
I don't know. There's like a 6-part podcast called like Dakota Spotlight on this case. And then I watched a documentary called The House on Sweet and 7th. That's where the Werner house was.
Mm-hmm.
That was where the Erikstad's house was, Sweet and 7th. The Werner was on Sweet and East. But just fucking spooky. A whole group of teenagers just in on this. I don't know.
So weird.
I don't know.
It's so weird.
Fucked up.
Yeah, teenagers are scary.
Yeah, they are.
Seriously.
Oh, yeah.
Well, okay. I would thank you for that, but I don't know if you've improved my quality of life at all with that story, sister. That's you're right, a big fucking bummer.
Well, we're not adding Bismarck to our.
No, Bismarck is not. We're not putting a pin in that. Nope, that's not on our trip.
Okay.
I am still going to go to that volcano though, that island volcano. I'm still going to that.
God. Okay.
I'm just waiting for it to erupt first. So. How about some chaos?
Yes, please.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to tell you about the Battle of Blair Mountain. Have you ever heard of this?
No.
Okay. So we're going to be in Logan County, West Virginia in 1921.
Whoa. Okay.
So in order to set the story up, it's necessary to understand, at least on a high level, the events leading up to the battle, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this is some like real American history shit, okay? Because we're going to coal country, Appalachia, which refers to the Appalachian mountain range that stretches from western New York State southwest into Alabama and Mississippi.
Okay.
And coal has been mined throughout that whole region, with some areas having higher concentrations of coal than others. Specifically areas of Kentucky, Tennessee, and West Virginia. Prior to the American Civil War, there were coal mines in operation, but there wasn't a very high demand yet for coal. So these mines were small and locally owned and operated. But after the end of the Civil War, like post 1865, the Industrial Revolution was really kicking off, and all these factories needed coal, lots of it. And so coal mining spun up into big business. The thing about coal mining is it's one of the most dangerous jobs on the planet.
Yeah, right? It spooks me out.
Right? Mm-hmm. I mean, between black lung and the ever-present threat of a cave-in, death due to the job seems almost near certain, right?
God.
Like, I don't know how a lot of like lifers in the coal mining industry that live long lives, right? Mm-hmm. So it's no wonder that as the labor movement began to gain momentum in the late 1800s in the U.S., many coal miners were right there, ready to unionize.
Yeah.
Yeah. The United Mine Workers Union was founded in 1890, and the mines in many of the counties of West Virginia only hired non-union workers after that.
Fuckers.
Yeah, well, their employment contracts actually included union membership as grounds for immediate termination. They called these yellow dog contracts or ironclad contracts.
Oh.
Yeah, like you literally signed a contract to work for your employment that said you would not join the union.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Huh. And this was at the height of the practice of what is called company towns.
Okay.
This shit is wild. So if anyone doesn't know, it was not uncommon for certain industries to establish a company town where basically all the stores and housing were owned by the same company that everyone living there worked for.
Oh, no.
This also often included being paid in company credit, otherwise called scrip, that could only be spent in the company town.
Oh, no.
You know that song 16 Tons, right?
Yeah.
Okay, 16 tons, what do you get? Another day older and deeper in debt. St. Peter, don't you call me because I can't go. I owe my soul to the company store.
That's what that's about?
What that is about.
Holy shit.
That's what that is about. Basically, a lot of these people wouldn't even be paid enough, so they'd be like getting credit from the company store. And then their script would go right from their pocket back to the company to pay off their debt at the store.
Fuck,
in the company town. Yes.
Your whole ass life just has to exist there?
Yep.
Oh, God.
So you're living in company housing. You're getting all of your food from a company store, and everyone around you is doing the same thing. Mm-hmm. And this was especially common in the coal and metal mining industries, as well as the lumber industry. So, I mean, you got to think about it like this, right? Like we're talking about the kind of job where every single day you're like deep in the heart of some place, right? I mean, it's like when you're a deep sea fisherman, right? And you're out on the boat for months at a time and like you're basically living on the job. So it's kind of like that. Like they got to be up on this mountain every fucking day. What are you going to like commute to the mountain? No, so you're going to live on the mountain, you're going to work on the mountain, and the company's going to make sure you do that by providing you with your place to live and a store to buy your goods at. But where it gets insidious is the script, right? Where you can only use script to like buy stuff. So you're basically, it's like you're getting credit. Your script is basically company credit that you're then turning around and transferring right back to the company in the store.
Oh, that's gross.
Uh-huh. So this also meant that getting fired also often came with getting evicted.
Yeah. Holy shit. Yeah.
So by 1920, after 30 years of resistance to unionization, the president of the miners' union decided it was time to push back hard on these mining companies in West Virginia. Mm-hmm. He was getting pressure from both miners elsewhere who had struck the previous year, as well as mine operators who were being undercut by the non-union mines. These non-union mines could sell for less than the union mines because they were paying less in wages to these non-unionized members, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So there was a huge snowball that was kicked off when about 3,000 miners in Mingo County, West Virginia, joined the union and they were all fired.
Yikes.
The coal companies that fired them turned to the Baldwin Felts Detective Agency to evict the families of all these fired miners. And let's be clear, these agents with Baldwin Felts are less a detective agency and more hired guns who got paid to bust unions and crack skulls on behalf of these companies who would rather their employees not be allowed to collectively organize for better wages and safer working conditions.
What a gross fucking job.
Right?
Yeah.
Can you imagine?
No, fuck no.
Wherever these agents went, bad shit went down. 6 years prior, it was the Baldwin Felts dudes that were partially responsible for the Ludlow massacre in Colorado, where they helped the Colorado National Guard attack a tent colony of coal miners that resulted in 21 dead, including miners' wives and some children.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. So these guys come to town, including two of the Felts brothers, Lee and Albert, whose brother Thomas was co-owner of the agency. And one of them had already been in town trying to bribe the mayor of Matawan to allow them to put machine guns on some of the roofs in town.
I'm sorry, machine guns on the roofs?
That's right. That's right.
To just start picking people off?
Yep.
Oh,
well,
okay.
I mean, to, show a force, right? Like, we're here now.
Jesus Christ.
We're here to tell you, no fucking unions.
Gee, fuck. Okay.
So the mayor refused. And then Albert and Lee and 11 other men with the agency headed up to the property of the Stone Mountain Coal Company and evicted a woman and her children. Her husband, the fired miner, was not home at the time. These 13 men forced this woman and her children out into the rain at gunpoint and threw all their belongings into the road.
Oh my God. What the fuck?
Mm-hmm. This would ultimately prove to be the pivotal event that led to the largest labor uprising in the history of the United States.
Ooh.
And it's crazy how many people do not know this story.
Okay.
Side note, as you know, but people listening probably don't. We were raised in a union household or a union family. We have union all the way back in our family tree, right? And there was that summer when Grandma Kitty was spent the whole summer on the picket line. The only way you could see Grandma was if you went and walked the picket line with her. You remember that?
Uh-huh. I do.
She got arrested. You remember that? She got arrested on the picket line. So, stories like these are not told enough. And unions have a bad rap these days. And, capitalists hate unions because they hate collective bargaining and they want to pay as little as possible. Right. But it's important to recognize that unions were formed and measures were put in place to protect labor with literal blood, sweat, and literal blood, sweat, and tears. Right.
Yeah.
People literally died for that shit.
Yep.
So the miners that witnessed this whole scene, they were fucking pissed and they made sure the whole town knew about it immediately.
Good.
So all these agents are walking to the train station to get the fuck out, but the police chief, Sid Hatfield, along with a group of deputized miners, stopped them to arrest them all.
Oh.
Albert tried to tell the police chief that, in fact, Chief Hatfield, was the one under arrest. So the mayor gets pulled into the whole thing, and he looks at the paperwork and determines that the arrest warrant that Albert Felts had pulled on the chief was a fake. And once he exclaims this out loud, "This is a bogus warrant," a friggin' gunfight breaks out. And in the end, 10 men are dead, including the two Felts brothers, Albert and Lee, as well as the mayor. And this will later be known as the Matawan Massacre.
Holy shit. That escalated quickly.
Yeah, this shit is popping off now, right? So throughout the rest of the year, there are smaller incidents of resistance from the miners, raids and arrests and shootings of the miners by state police. Chief Hatfield is on the side of the miners, which bolsters their confidence. And throughout the fall of 1920, both sides were building up their ranks and their arms.
Oh, no.
In January of 1921, the trial of Chief Hatfield started for his killing of Albert Phelps in the Matawan Massacre. This was a big national story, and that meant that the cause of the miners was also getting big attention. But this wasn't translating into big wins for the union. At the end of the trials for the massacre, everyone was acquitted. 80% of mines reopened with a mix of replacements from outside West Virginia, as well as ex-strikers who signed Yellow Dog contracts in order to go back to work.
Oh, because that's the thing, right? They're being strong-armed, basically. They have to do something. They can't.
Yeah.
It's so fucking shitty.
Yeah, it's are you going to work or are you going to fight the good fight? Like, are you going to feed your family or are you going to like, you know what I mean?
Are you going to continue to be housed and be able to eat or?
Right.
Yeah. God, I hate this.
By mid-May, this fight turned into an actual battle called the 3 Days Battle that had consumed the entire Tug River Valley. It was ended in a truce, and then West Virginia instituted martial law.
Oh.
Yeah. So now these skirmishes are breaking out, and hundreds of miners are being arrested, while those on the side of, quote, law and order, read local and state government and the coal companies, are not arrested for anything that they do. And this is just riling up the miners even more.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, this is unjust, right?
Yeah, very much so.
So now the miners are employing guerrilla tactics and acts of sabotage. This shit is about to blow the fuck up.
This place about to blow.
Mm-hmm. And in the middle of all this, Sheriff Hatfield, who has become kind of a hero of the miner cause, has to travel to McDowell County for a trial on charges of blowing up some mining equipment. And he is assassinated on the courthouse steps along with one of his good friends right in front of their wives by none other than agents of Baldwin Felts.
No, what the fuck?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
This is like 100 years ago, Amber.
Yeah, that's not that long.
No. So miners are now coming out of their mountain homes, grabbing their guns and congregating together to patrol and guard the area, especially in the Little Coal River area. Another county over, in Logan County, the sheriff there, Don Chafin, sends troops to the Little Coal River area to shut that shit down. But that backfires and the miners captured those troops, disarmed them, and sent them fleeing.
Okay.
So at a rally in the state capitol in Charleston, some of the leaders of the miners' union presented the governor of West Virginia with a petition of the miners' demands. And the governor was like, yeah, fuck off with your petition.
Whoa.
Which pissed off the miners even more.
Yeah.
This solidified for the disgruntled miners that they needed to take even more massive and direct action in the form of a march into Mingo County to set the arrested miners free, because that's where those 3,000 miners, there had a bunch of people had been fired, right? And there were a bunch of people arrested.
Kicked out, yeah.
Yeah, they wanted to end this goddamn martial law bullshit and get the county there organized to strengthen their numbers for unionization.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is, Logan County Sheriff Chafin, the guy who sent those troops, and Blair Mountain are all between them and Mingo County.
Okay. Oh.
So this was the era of Mother Jones, and her idea of justice for working people depended on strong families which required decent working conditions. Mother Jones toured the country giving rousing speeches aimed to fire up the working class and inspire them to fight the good fight against all these shitty coal companies. This is literally what her life's work was. And Mother Jones was in West Virginia telling these miners to calm the fuck down before some shit really happened. She saw that these guys were all ready to make that march to Mingo, and she was certain that they would run right into those troops in Logan County and it would be a bloodbath.
Yeah.
But the bullshit with the governor was more than they could stand, and a lot of them felt like Mother Jones was losing her nerve right when the fight was getting good.
Mm-hmm.
So they armed up, and they started gathering at Lenz Creek Mountain in Kanawha County, 2 counties over from Mingo. By the 4th day, there was an estimated 13,000 armed coal miners there, and they started their march towards Logan County, where they knew that they would get into a fight trying to get to Mingo.
13,000.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck.
Some of them were so ready to get into it that they didn't want to wait. So they stole a freight train, renamed it Blue Steel Special, and took it to Boone County, where another group of miners were gathering as well.
They're picking up more miners on the way.
Uh-huh.
Oh, so badass.
I know, right?
Yeah.
They just commandeered a train, dude.
Uh-huh.
This is our train now.
Yep.
Motherfuckers.
Fucking rad.
In the meantime, Sheriff Chafin was setting up defenses on Blair Mountain, knowing that all those miners would have to cross the mountain to get into Mingo. He had financial support from the Logan County Coal Operators Association and created the largest private armed force in the country, almost 2,000 hired guns.
Shit. It's not 13,000 though.
No, it started out small on the morning of August 25th, 1921. Most of the miners were still a good 15 miles away. And the next day, on the 26th, President Harding, that's the president of the United States, he threatened to send in federal troops and bomber planes.
Jesus Christ, dude.
This was enough to convince the miners to back down and retreat, and they were going to head back home. But Chief Chafin was just itching for a fight. He had this big army he put together with money from the coal companies, and he's clearly just a villain, right? So rumor gets out that he sent some of his troops to shoot some Union sympathizers in a town just north of Blair Mountain that resulted in some families getting caught in the crossfire.
Just go shoot some people?
I can't decide if this happened or not, or if it was just rumors. I'm not sure. But of course, the miners who were fixing to head back home heard this, and they were all, hell nah. And they're like, back to Blair Mountain we go. And a few more trains were commandeered along the way.
Oh my God. Don't piss off the miners.
No.
Mm-mm.
By the 29th of August, it was a full-on battle. And even though that private army of Chafins was outnumbered by now, they had the advantage of higher positions, like they had the higher ground, and they had superior weapons. And these fuckers hired private planes to drop homemade bombs on the miners.
Whoa, what the fuck?
Some were explosive, some were poison gas. They were all leftovers from World War I.
Wow.
And they also had aerial surveillance from army bombers from Maryland.
Wow.
By August 30th, the governor of West Virginia appointed a colonel of the West Virginia National Guard to command both the government and volunteer forces in this battle with the miners. Sporadic gunfights went on for a week. The miners almost broke through to the town of Logan and their goal, the non-unionized Logan and Mingo counties. Up to 30 deaths were reported on the police chief's side, 50 to 100 on the side of the miners, with hundreds more injured and wounded. By September 2nd, federal troops were joining the fray. A lot of the miners were veterans, and they didn't want to fire on U.S. troops. And the call was made to stand down and head home. A lot of the more clever miners, afraid of being arrested, found ways to hide their firearms in the woods before leaving Logan County. After the battle ended, 985 miners were indicted for murder, conspiracy to commit murder, accessory to murder, and treason against the state of West Virginia.
985 arrests. Jesus Christ.
Some of them were acquitted and others were imprisoned for years. In the aftermath, the coal industry owners and management were definitely the winners in the short term. Membership in the United Mine Workers of America dropped from 50,000 to about 10,000 over the next several years, and this had a ripple effect. The union was also undermined in Pennsylvania and Kentucky. By the end of 1925, Illinois was the only remaining unionized state for soft coal production.
God, wow.
It wouldn't be until 1935, in the wake of the Great Depression and the start of President Roosevelt's New Deal, that the union would fully organize in southern West Virginia. The battle at Blair Mountain did raise awareness of the abysmal and appalling conditions miners faced in the dangerous coal fields of West Virginia. Eventually, with shifting tactics, the union was able to better organize and grow. Ultimately, it was the miners' union that helped create the Steelworkers Union and led to the creation of larger organizations that connected these unions.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
And that is the story of the Battle of Blair Mountain.
Fuck, sister. I was like on pins and needles for that one.
So the first time I ever heard anything about this particular incident or this battle was on this limited series podcast that Auntie Lola recommended to me, that I actually have recommended to a lot of people since then because it's really good. It's called Dolly Parton's America.
Oh, yeah.
And, and then subsequently, I heard a deep dive telling of these events on The Dollop, which is another podcast you've heard me mention. It's like shouting out, you know, they're a big podcast. They don't need my support, but they did a deep dive on this. So you can listen to and get way more detail and way more into the characters and all the little side skirmishes and everything. They do a really good job of covering it. What's interesting is Dolly Parton's America is kind of a exploration of a lot of things, with Dolly Parton is kind of the common thread through all of these different topics that they explore. Appalachia obviously is like one of them, right? And just kind of that is a general area. And one of the things that came up around that is that there was this period of time where these big city journalists from like New York, right, would go into Appalachia and come back, and they would write these like ridiculous pieces for like the New York Times or whatever, and describe the people in Appalachia as, you know, basically like another species of human being, right? And they really like otherized those people. And then there's this whole kind of almost controversial take on the term redneck, because like the etymology of that word has become contested. So apparently, and this is, I also heard this in Dolly Parton's America First, and they also talked about it on the Dollop, and I read a couple articles and did a little bit of a dive on this particular piece. So it was really common for coal miners to wear a handkerchief that they would have on them when they worked, because they could put it over their faces to protect themselves from inhaling the coal dust all day. And often they were red. And when they were in the middle of all these fights, all these coal miners had their red handkerchiefs tied around their neck. And they were, and some say that is where the term redneck comes from. And there's also some that say the term started out as derogatory, as like kind of an anti-communist slur, right? Like you're a redneck, like you're a communist, when it like when it was really ramping up, like peak anti-communism was going on. There's a lot of different like takes on where the term redneck actually comes from. It's mostly had a derogatory context, but the nature of that derogatory context has shifted over time. So like, yeah, they wore red kerchiefs around their neck, and so we could call them rednecks. And the propaganda of the day was often in the favor of governments and big companies. And so it would be derogatory to call them a redneck if they were seen as communists for wanting to unionize, for example. Right. So, but nowadays you say redneck, and some don't think of it as derogatory. It depends on who's saying it, right? If I call someone a redneck and I'm from a big city, I'm calling them a redneck, and I'm saying something about where they're from and what I think. And it says a lot about what I think about them, right? About their belief system, about their education level, about their financial status, right? So it's interesting. There's a lot of interesting stuff that comes up around all this, but yeah. So I just wanted to like, mention that, because it's this particular battle and this story, and the coal miners themselves like are part of this kind of cultural conversation that came up when this story was getting like some coverage, like on these podcasts and stuff, like, this term redneck. And anyway,
God, that's so interesting. I've heard that too, about the red handkerchiefs, that's where it came from. It's so interesting.
And it was this fight. It was this union fight that came from.
Wow. Interesting. Wow, sister. We've been educated here on Crime, Wine, and Chaos.
I'm sorry. Was it too much history for you guys?
No, it's well, not for me. That was amazing. That was amazing.
There's the writers are striking, the actors are striking. There's rumor that UPS might go on strike. The Teamsters Union is a really, really strong union. We're big supporters of unions here in our little family. So, in solidarity with all of that, and solidarity with labor and collective bargaining and, workers' safety and all of that stuff, it was a good time to do a story about one of the biggest fights on behalf of labor that this country has ever had.
That was perfect. I love that.
Hey, thanks, sister.
Thank you for that. Thank you for sharing that. It's important stuff.
Do you have anything for the good of the order?
Follow us on all the things. We're out there. We're floating around out there.
We're out there. Amber's trying to make fetch happen. And by that, I mean, she's trying to get us on the TikTok and get people to actually.
Yeah. No, we are on the TikTok. We are there. Go check us out.
Nobody cares that we're there, but we are there.
I'm sorry. We have 30 followers right now.
Wow. That's amazing.
So we're basically influencers.
No, yeah, 100%. It's like once you hit more than 10, you're an influencer, right?
Honeybee. So go check us out. You can check out Naomi on the Twitter. I almost said the twatter.
Again, it's not even called Twitter anymore, you guys. It's called X.
It is?
Oh, you haven't been keeping up on that story? Yeah. Our favorite billionaire, Elon Musk, has changed the name of Twitter to X. Just the letter X.
Like when Prince was a symbol?
Kind of like that. Only when Prince was a symbol, it was more than symbolic. It actually he had a reason for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had like a legitimate reason to do that. Like Elon does not. He's not legitimate about in any way, shape, or form. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
But yes, we're on X as a podcast, and I am as an individual at Misnomers. Also, you guys, we love it when we get reviews. We got 2 new reviews this week, and it like made my fucking week. One of them was Eric P. I think he left the most wonderful review on Podchaser. I almost teared up. That was just so sweet. Absolutely made my week, and it helps other people find us when you leave reviews, when you give a star rating for us, and it's a good one, then more people can find us, and you can share the chaos, because we're all about sharing the chaos here. Today was so fucking chaotic.
Bye-bye.
Love you. Bye.
Love you. Bye. Crime, Wine, and Chaos is produced by 8th Direction Records. Artwork by Joshua M. Davis. Music by Paul Abner. If you would like to support the show, you can visit our Patreon page at crimewineandchaos.com/Patreon. Cheers.
Like the weather. So.
Fuck, man. Well.